It's John Simpson, isn't it?
John Paul Simpson, yes.
John Paul Simpson, nice to meet you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, my friend?
Yes. I'm 39 years old. Live in Tampa Bay, Florida, USA. I'm a musician, just in my personal life, and I've been pretty enthralled in this new book that's going to be coming out, and I've been dedicating my whole time to it, and it keeps opening up different avenues that really is thrilling. It's new information that's factually available, has always been, to the masses, and I saw something that's never been seen, and anyone can see it, and that's opened up new avenues that it's actually delayed the giving of the manuscript over to my publisher, and I'm on the brink of something that's very exciting to me as even just a fan of these things. I love your channel, huge fan.
Thank you very much.
And, in general, doing this type of activity has it's actually not too good for the family name, but that's just a bridge I'm crossing, I guess you could say. But yeah, and actually, if I wasn't in this position, I wouldn't have looked down it. Nobody would have. That's the key, actually, that gave me the opportunity, and it led me to a discovery that anyone into ripperology, you know, anyone interested in the case itself, and it also gives many, you know, you can surmise different approximations of what it could mean to people who subscribe to the reptilian theory of the royal family. There's many different actions to take to look at that provide an answer no one's seen before, or at the very least would be interested in seeing, because they themselves can maybe find a question to ask that could lead them somewhere else. It seems to me it's a little heart-pounding when I see that, I mean, anyone could see these things are true. Yes, I do come from a family of Freemasons. That's undeniable. I myself am not one, but my ancestry puts itself right literally in the middle of some of the biggest moments in the history of the case of Jack the Ripper, and that gave me some answers. And a little scary but fun, because, you know, I'm no Freemason, but being from a family of them, it's a little strange, but exciting at the same time.
So, this book you're bringing out.
What's that?
The book you're bringing out, what will that be called?
You know, I was hoping to not name it something before I delved into it, so then I would have to follow that sort of, you know, line of thinking. I was going to finish and then see what it told me, and I'm sticking with that, even though to the maybe detriment of my publisher. She's not so keen on that, but I think in the end that'll work. I was dancing around giving an actual title, but I think that'd be a mistake, because I don't know. I keep finding out new information. I've had to stop writing a few different times. I was complete and about to send it away, and I found out something new, and that's what keeps happening. And these things are right there for everyone to see. They're all facts, but no one saw them. And my publisher is very excited about that, and anyone would be. It's a very exciting thing. Anyone who's into any of these things whatsoever will find it very interesting, and that's where I was going. I knew I had a responsibility to anyone reading this to do the best I could, of course, like anyone in my situation would, but I keep finding out new things. This time I haven't, and I've decided I may not even search anymore. Say that for the next book, if there is enough material for one. But
right, so can we start, like, can we talk a bit about the story, like, of your childhood, if possible, and work our way that way?
Well, this is, I did, but I didn't know at the time. I was, strangely, the first book I ever read, somehow was drawn to it, was about Jack the Ripper, the case. He just terrified me. You would picture, as an American, you think of Victorian London and the gaslit streets, just the shadow. It's terrifying, you know. Even now, it has its, you know, mystique to it. And I read those books, and I remember now, and this isn't an input to, because I'm not even going to put it in the book, this is just for our conversation. I remember my father himself being, you know, kind of, I thought at the time, it might have just been him thinking it was weird that his young son was reading about murderers, which seems very logical. But now that I look about it, the way as it went on through the years, he actually dropped some hints. He said to me later, he goes, when we were talking about, I started bringing up the royal conspiracy, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry about those crocodiles." And I didn't know anything about the reptilian theory. But I remember him clearly saying crocodiles, and he said it with confidence. And this is my father, the man who created me, was born in 1927. I am 39, so he had me later in life in his 50s. And he's a genius, real life genius, engineering genius. He created and built engines after World War II. He was a World War II veteran. He helped build the engines that created engines for aircraft carriers, which is another easy fact for anyone to find out. He wouldn't discuss certain, very quiet, stoic man. And it was almost like he was running, now as an older man, I see that. He was running from whatever, that's how I see it, which made me think of different things. My mother, who used to be a Catholic nun, left the convent because she wanted to do more with her life. I think that had a lot to do with it. He might have found Jesus is where it really comes down to. Then I started seeing all the Freemasons have a real dedication to numerology, as you very well, I'm sure, know. 27 seems to be a reoccurring, maybe not as popular knowledgeable number as, say, 33 or 3, but 27 in my own personal life applies in some very amazing ways, and in my father's, and a continuance of that. And like I said, my father didn't really say too much, but there's a story of William George Simpson, his grandfather, my great-grandfather, who was a personal bodyguard, and anyone could find this out too. He was a personal bodyguard to Queen Victoria. He was very high position in the Grenadier Guards. He was the #1 marksman and swordsman in the British Empire. And he was a personal tutor to Prince Edward Albert Victor, the Duke of Clarence. That man jumped off a boat to escape them, the monarch, into the Atlantic. There's a whole, I started finding out some things about that I just decided I'm not going to delve into now because I'll keep delaying. That story itself is amazing. Why did he do that? He was so close to them. Why did my father say the word crocodiles for them? It's like he knew something. But in general, there's so many other ties. I don't know if any of your audience is, I'm sure many of them are. You have a great audience, great channel. It's like coming home watching your channel. I never miss anything.
Brilliant.
The facts of the case are the facts. So the things I discuss are right there for anyone to see. There was, we know nowadays a bit more about serial killers themselves. During that time, it was brand new. Jack the Ripper in 1 square mile was able to maneuver around, not get caught. I found some possible explanations for this. Things that we know more about nowadays. Like now we know that serial killers like to hunt in familiar areas. They themselves like to keep trophies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, about 20 years, maybe less than 20 years ago, a family in the UK came out with a shawl it turned out the DNA was still on it, from Catherine Eddowes herself. It was her shawl. That was the new biggest piece of evidence in the case of Jack the Ripper. And this shawl had her DNA and another man named Aaron Kosminski. I'm sure people have heard of him as a suspect. I don't know how he's got on there. But why did this family have that? Because serial killers like to keep trophies. Why did he keep it and pass it on? And how did Jack the Ripper get around? Maybe he just theorizing. Maybe he had protection from a PC, or maybe he was a PC. That makes some sense to me, so that made me think a little bit deeper. And the man who had that passed on to his family is Amos Simpson, PC Amos Simpson. He is the first cousin of William George Simpson, who is my great-grandfather, leading Freemason, 27th grade. Obviously, anyone interested in this would want to know more. That was right there for anyone to see. The records exist, documentation, but I myself was interested in it and had, an epiphany only because of, my bloodline turned out to be something that made me dig deeper. Having some sort of connection to it, a bit, not great, but definitely interesting. And so these things I've just discussed with you are all facts, and there's no embellishing needing, because that's all in the public sphere of knowledge. So right there already I've debuted something new to anyone interested in the case of Ripperology. And these facts are facts, so it's not a matter of opinion, no one can debate them. So in all actuality, I believe myself, as does my publisher, that it's worth a go. And so I've been going and I keep finding something new out. And more, it leads to other things. For example, Andrew, we know that Prince Albert, there was suspicion he had syphilis from, visiting unfortunates in the East End. And there's also the theory and that, reptilians are, we know about the reptilians.
Yeah.
They like to eat human flesh. They like to supposedly eat babies, right?
Yeah.
So, what possibly do we know? I looked a little deeper. I'm sorry about that. And I looked a little deeper, and I came to another avenue I can maybe look at. The victims. They're all a little older. There was Polly Nichols, Mary Ann Polly Nichols. She was an older, unfortunate alcoholics. They had a lot of problems. I'll skip to the end. Mary Kelly in Miller's Court. There's a difference with her. She was 25, thought to be very beautiful. And if you look in any of the lore, she was thought to be pregnant. And she was eviscerated, unfortunately. And one of the doctors then theorized that she was pregnant. She was taken apart, but her stomach looked like there was special attention taken to it, and even her heart taken, which we all know. And we can put that towards different theories of Satanism or even dirty Freemasonry, whatever. I'm just talking. And then, Prince Albert, he was thought to have syphilis from beating them. And syphilis itself, it gives you certain symptoms. You shake a little bit. And about 30 years ago, scientists discovered tribes in Papua New Guinea who, took part in cannibalism. And there's another disease that afflicted the UK, mad cow disease, cows eating that. If humans eat brains during cannibalism, they mimic the same symptoms as syphilis. Could it be a combo? I don't know. He was known to indulge in his vices. He was a bit of a brat. One of the selling points in the book is I have some documentation and letters from William George himself that were left to me myself, and I never read them. This is amazing stuff. And some journal entries about him. Prince Albert was a bit of a douche, excuse my language. But there was the crocodile comments, William George Simpson spoke of those crocodiles. He jumped off a boat to escape them in the Atlantic. Did he find something out? There's all these factual connections. They chased him to Canada, then to Louisiana, and I don't know the rest of the story. But there's actual documentation of agents of the monarch getting on boats. I forget the name of the boat at the moment, but I have it. That they're looking for him a few different times. He was obviously a very important man. I don't know to the extent, but you don't get to be the personal bodyguard of Queen Victoria and tutor unless you got some connections. He was a high-ranking Freemason, but he was also a warrior. He's in a very famous painting. Or he painted, I can't, I think I sent you the information, but...
So did he commit suicide then?
No, he didn't. As far as I know, he lived out his life in fear. And always looking behind his shoulder. And a little bit of what I got from my father is that he just didn't want to talk about it. There was something very heavy in the past. Something he definitely never wanted. It was almost like when he saw me like doing the stuff, it was like, damn, I got away from this, and now he ain't gonna ever find anything out. So really a detriment. My father passed away in 2007. 27. He was born in 27, died in 2007. At the end there, when I was speaking, I started, I was always drawn to it. He was always very supportive of everything, but not this. He did not want me talking about this. Why did he say crocodile? Why did he try to push me away? Why is he so afraid of the past? You literally say, don't look for things you don't want to know the answer to. Think of the ones who love you. Why did he say those things? I don't know. And things, obviously, there are some things I definitely can't discuss at the moment, just because, one, I could put them in the book and that helps people be more entertained, but I have to conclude this as fact. Everything I said is fact, or I wouldn't have spoke of it. But something else that I found out so good is a cherry on the top that I need to obviously find out some more information before I divulge that. And it seems to all fit into a combined, study that he was, the family itself knew a bit of things that he weren't comfortable with or weren't ready for or didn't agree to know. And it's turned out to be more of a, I keep opening doors and finding avenues that I can search down, and I really didn't ever expect it to come to this, but it seems like I was always supposed to.
So, have you ever been contacted by anyone or anything like that?
Well, I realize now there's a man that came around to see my father here and there, a British man. This man kept telling me about Trinity Church, as I remember. And it turns out my William George Simpson was married to Trinity Church. I don't know if that's even significant, but little things like that makes me think I'd be illogical not to think there's something I was purposely not told and purposely kept away from.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I should be doing this or not, I'll pay the price for that later. It seems obvious to me. It was pulling me. I could find something else out. There's no way. I mean, we know that none of this information was ever disclosed. I'm making a big mistake, but I'm making it either way. There was this man. His name was Charles. I don't remember his last name. We were going to talk about him. This man would show up. It's funny you asked that. My mom wasn't even included in my father's. He wouldn't discuss anything with her either. I think my mom knows well. She knows stuff. She's not going to tell me. I've gotten the strict feeling she doesn't even want me doing this, but I think I went too far already, so there's no turning back. But I think, and it has been happening. I keep finding out more and more. It's a roller coaster ride. Yeah, there has been some coming around. Everything adds up to it.
When will your book be finished?
Excuse me. Well, it has been finished numerous times. I am stopping now. It's perfect. It should be in print, ready to go. Well, less than a year, of course. The way she's talking, though, it might be pushed quicker.
Yeah.
You'll be the first to No.
Yeah, make sure, because I'd love to read that, and make sure to have you back on to.
Oh, absolutely. You'll be the one and only, and first to know anything.
Yeah, I'll have you back on, and obviously, like you say, you can tell people the name of it then, they know what to look for then.
Yeah.
But it sounds fascinating, like you say, when you find out your family's into stuff, like you say, you see little bits, and then it all starts to add up when you hear all the other information from like YouTube and videos that you watch and stuff like that, and then you start thinking, well, my family has something to do with this, and yeah, it all connects, doesn't it? Because you've had the experience and you've seen firsthand. And like you say, your father wouldn't lie to you. And why would he say them things? It's a bit strange. Especially that, like you say, he was a very clever man, engineer. He was part of the Masons. Did you say he was part of the Masons, your father?
He says no, but documentation, I have a little bit of documentation. I think he was brought into it and never put any time and effort into it.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't going to do that to me.
Was you brought up near any army bases or anything like that?
Yeah.
That's strange. Do you think that you might have been sort of a psychops, maybe sort of? Do you think you might have MK Ultra or anything like that?
No, he was in World War II. He was a soldier for a merchant marine, and then he did some other work for them afterwards, building engines. But MK Ultra was a CIA-run program in the 50s. In the 50s, you know, he was a bit of a mystery. He had my mother and him had not met yet, and he was a very mysterious man. But you know, if you had met my father, his personality alone would make you kind of think there was something like that. But he did continue to work with the American Army building engines and engineering. And,
so, do you reckon that could have been like underground bases and anything like that?
That would be amazing. You know, it's funny, actually. My father, this just now buzzed me. In Spring Hill, Florida, there's a company called Heritage Propane. My dad, and this is true to anyone at that company can tell you, he read a book one night and learned how to gas the whole town. It's the town's gas company. They built it one night with him directing it all. And we're right near MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. And he used to work right next door to it at the Hilton Hotel. I always thought that was weird. See, this is the kind of things I'm talking about. It's little details like that.
Do you ever remember yourself being on a base when you was a kid?
Yeah, I went to a few air shows. Went and saw some people he knew here and there, yeah. But I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was an old man when I was born already, you know.
Right.
And that's my actual father, too, you know. People would have seen, he looked like his grandfather when I was there. He looked like someone else's grandfather, but it was his actual father. And there was nothing he couldn't do. He was an amazing man. And there's everyone had trust in him. He had a real sense of power. Never used his power, but a sense of, you know, presence about him. You know, you could tell something. And as his son, I mean, I could probably count how many times he spoke.
Yeah.
It's like, and he's one of those people. But
thinking a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he said crocodile, it's like he almost said it with like he was mad. He's like, no, I don't. It's crocodile. It's like you know, it seems to fit in. Maybe, I mean, this is, you know, purely theory, but it seems to really work.
Do you think he wanted to tell you the truth, but he didn't want you to think he was crazy?
No, I think he would know. I would totally believe him, but he didn't want me to face those facts of life that could possibly
worry. Yeah.
It's pretty terrifying stuff all around.
Yeah.
And these things are more and more coming to be more than just a possibility. It seems like people have known this forever. It seems like everything that's around to protect other people or continue to let it happen.
It seems like it all stems back to Egypt to me, and like the Anunnaki creating clones and some
the genealogists. I mean, and why we have such great records through Sumeria of this. I mean, they didn't take the time to write this all on cuneiform tablets for fun. They didn't even know if it would last. Maybe they were doing it for themselves.
and we don't know exactly about the Sunifan tablets because, like you know, the guy who translated him, he was threatened, you know, with his life, and so he can't even. He might have withheld information. Like I say, he stopped. Once he'd done the Anunnaki, he stopped talking about it. He didn't say or presume where they'd gone from them days, you know. What they do, just disappear. Well, it makes sense because once this in the Bible that the Sodom and Gomorrah disasters, then it seemed like the Anunnaki had to go north, and the Hebrews, they went to Western Europe, like you say, and it's very strange because it all adds up about today's wars and everything like that. Obviously, where did the Mongols come from? Where did they come from? That might have been a clone army, I think. To be honest with you, I know it sounds a bit out there, but we know the Anunnaki was master genealogists, and they knew how to.
Logical, pretty much the only avenue you could have taken to get there, it seems, and it seems like in a superior, you know, race dominating us Homo sapiens, that's pretty much what they would have to do right at that point, wouldn't they? They would have to counteract, you know, an exodus of, you know, people. They would have to do something. They couldn't just let us roam free. In fact, that's what I mean. The Mongol theory is really good. Actually, that seems.
But then also, like, when you look at where the Mongols ended, they ended in about 600 BC AD. Yeah, so they ended, and then the Kazakhs started from 600 AD to 1000 AD. Then that's where the Akhenatsis came from. Now, Akhenatsi, Anunnaki, I mean, does that not ring any bells? And then...
It can't be an accident, you know?
No, is it? No. And then you get, like you say, you get the Nazis then. They went to Germany, and then you get the Nazis. It's just crazy. They had hatred for Hebrew people. And then it all goes back to the Anunnaki and Hebrews. I swear to God, I'm convinced.
I mean, it seems, and it's like a repeat of history, just different names and people, you know, doing, but...
It's so hard to follow because everything's been muddled, changed. I mean, the names have gone from one language to another language, from Latin to English to... And it's crazy. So to put all this together, it's took me a long time of research and just... there's no way to put it together. You just have to read everything and then it all slots into place. You've got to read the Bible, you've got to read the Vedic text, the Sumerian text, is the Quran tells stories of Alexander the Great sealing entrances to the earth and stuff like that, sealing these people in the earth. Every story, people make it out to be myth, but I think they're just too scared to actually put a stamp on it and say, look, this is what really happened.
And we're all, you know, systematically, you know, conditioned to brush it right off. This couldn't be true. But stranger things really happen all the time. That seems more logical the more you study it. It seems like that's exactly, really, even we do this as humans, we learned it from them. I mean, us as humans, we've heard how the Anunnaki, you know, made us get gold for them. We don't really care about gold. We only do because they did. I mean, we wouldn't naturally just care about gold, and we still to this day, we need gold. We're probably still giving it to them, is what it is. And we're mining gold for them, even monatomic gold. It's
but it helps you understand what is happening today.
Superior race.
Mm-hmm. It helps you understand what's happening today, though, as well. Why the Illuminati, now they call themselves, like to pick on Christianity, and they want to get rid of Christianity. They want to bring in the old Egypt system all again, the Illuminati triangle, the one eye. They try to bring it all back in with music and everything. It's just the same as what happened in France with Napoleon. They tried to bring back the same, and it's just repeating itself. Why do you think Britain and France had a 100-year war?
Britain and who?
Britain and France.
Oh, true. I mean, God, they couldn't be. I mean, they're similar, but the way it's happening with the culture, unfortunately. But they seem to be so far apart then in their values and whatever. But I mean, I couldn't tell you for sure, but they themselves, sorry, you know, it's like each country, let's say in Europe and even in America, of course, they've been, for lack of a better word, you know, infiltrated in a different way, that each one of their countries puts out a little step that, combining all these steps, makes one point of the sword that they can attack us with. And if I'm going to use the word attack, but everything seems like it's all been building up, maybe so humans could mentally actually even take the jump of technology that we've had, say, in the last 30 years, which is very strange. And humans, us ourselves, didn't really have time to adapt to all this technology. I was born in the 70s. You know, I've really seen a big jump. These people today, like younger kids, they're just born with it. So it's like they don't even have to get turned to the dark side as they were, but they're enthralled. They'll fight for them, not you know, unwittingly. It's like they have to wait just a little bit longer till there's just a whole generation which seems to be coming out now to where they can, and even mind might not break, possibly. It's everything seems that from the past, as you were saying, like the Mongols, that's fantastic. It's a whole big build-up. They got time. Whoever, the Illuminati or plans, anything we are going to decide, there's obviously one thing out of all of it. There's something.
Yeah. Do you not think it's strange how the Mongols went straight for Europe? Islam was at the same time created, just spread out of Mecca and just seemed to wipe over all of Christianity from nowhere. Just like the Mongols.
Act as a religion, they got together. That's it. You're not with us, you're done. Christians don't do that. Yeah, we have the Crusades. It wasn't what people think it was. You know.
No, this was just a reaction.
Another thing is, Attila the Hun himself, he said he was the demigod of the sky people.
Did I? I didn't know that, you know.
And doesn't he have the most descendant bloodline in the whole world? You know, I mean, it's I think that I forget. I wasn't, you know, preparing to find that number out, but I know that he has the most descendants by blood out of any person. Like the DNA is throughout the world, it's been written and declared. Attila the Hun himself, you know, declared himself to be a demigod of the sky gods. And this is before that was really, let's say, I mean, the Anunnaki in Sumeria, and they accepted the fact that they were created. They didn't have to be. It wasn't a big deal to them. Then, really, in history, it wasn't really spoke of, you know, in a big, you know. I mean, God, when the Mongols took to the world, it changed the world forever. Let's be honest. But that doesn't seem to be an accident. And he led that charge, and it just all seems logical. There is something else going. Why wouldn't they get this man? He very well could have been a demigod. There's no. That doesn't seem strange to me at all. He could be a hybrid of some sort. That seems logical at this point. And no matter what people think, you know, whoever might be listening, that seems exactly right. Especially the more you see it. We're a strange group, humans. We're capable of amazing things. We have come to this technology so fast. It seems like it's not much of a debate that we're being manipulated. Everything, our reaction, if you look from the outside in, we weren't actually meant to be manipulated. I don't think Enki really meant us harm. We just wanted some gold. But we also don't know that. It's speculation. But, you know, things change. There was a lot of people, you know, Anu and Enlil, who were not happy with him for doing that. The flood was used as a device to cleanse the earth. So that makes sense. And so that failed, right? So
and also, what amazes me is we see the third world, and now we all think, why don't they live like, you know, like we do in a government and democracy? But if they are hardwired just to be like the swarm mentality of they just want dictators, you know, it seems that way because everywhere you look, there's no democracy around the world apart from the Western world. And I mean,
it's ingrained in our DNA to be servants, and servitude might be what we naturally might not like to admit it, but maybe we like that best naturally in our DNA.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense to me, unfortunately, but I know they got to keep us civil for ourselves and maybe give us the illusion of freedom, of course. But that Mongol theory, I've been thinking about it since you brought it up, Andrew. That was missing from.
This is what I came across honestly, and when I was looking, because I was doing my presentation, I'm doing all the pictures for it, so I'm going from after the Sodom and Gomorrah, where did they go? Because obviously they couldn't have lived in that area. There's a big nuclear war there, so obviously we know the Khazars were there, but they were there after the Mongols. So I think they went, they started to clone an army ready for anything like this, and then that's where the Mongols came from, maybe. And then it turned into the Khazars, and then it turned into the Akhenazi Jews, who then infiltrated Europe, and then it just explains everything.
Also, little sub-societies, too, as that outreach to the world. Those were the ones that kind of became the rulers of where they were. They're all stemmed from that. It really all starts with that.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, they're not defined to that country because there was the Bolsheviks as well afterwards. Yeah, and then obviously the South American, they had a lot of Anunnaki. So I know there was the Sky people who lived there. This also another proof to the theory is once the nuclear war had gone on in the Middle East, obviously they all didn't leave the same way. There was some people leaving near Saudi Arabia that way. There was some leaving towards Greece that way. There was some going by land. They must have just fled. So we can see this because we hear stories of New Zealand being populated by white people. So and the Berbers and things like that in North Africa. There's some tribe of white people in the middle of Africa. So where did they come from? They've been there for thousands of years. Obviously, this was people traveling, just escaping from this nuclear disaster, and they set up little civilizations. And then even in the New Zealand legend, it tells of when they came to New Zealand, the dark-skinned people, they came to there were the white people who was there before them.
Rh negative blood too.
Yeah. So then they tell of a story of how they escaped the Middle East with a big war with the dark-skinned people, and then some of them fled to Peru and things like that, and it just all adds up. It all paints a big picture, makes it simple to understand.
It does. It paints a big picture because, and you can see it because it's logical. That's exactly, once you and I obviously do a lot of research and study, we're into this thing. A lot of people are, and that's why I think this is all growing. It's pretty much undeniable. The smarter we get, and the more, and we're still learning. We're uncovering so much of the human genome. We're learning so much, even with those little bits of technology that keep coming out. It seems to always come back down to that, pointing back to these things. It seems like the only possible things this way, because it, of course, is a mystery, and the powers that be definitely would not want this to be known to the masses. But someone like me who just heard you bring this up about that, I had not yet thought of that. But I was dancing around it, and that makes exact sense. It actually is kind of like a relief off the shoulders. It's like, oh, I kind of got a little bit piece of some puzzle I didn't get to ask the question towards yet. And it seems like exactly right. And you think that naturally because that's likely, whether it's exactly right or not, is irrelevant. We feel like that, and you even thought of that because it's likely true. I mean, that's the logical way. We're human. We know our nature. And we know how it goes. That's how it did go when the Mongols they took the world over. I think they had the biggest conquering of land since Alexander the Great.
Can you tell me anything they invented?
Alexander the Great?
No, sorry, the Mongols. Did they invent anything or create a great civilization? Did they do anything to enhance you?
They were fighters on horses by far. They had their version of a phalanx, on the ground. But they were the best horse riders. I think they domesticated horses for battle. But they were the top-notch they're known to be the top warriors of horses on horses.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. They seem like just a destructive mass. You know, they didn't leave a legacy. They didn't leave roads like the Romans did. Not like that. They was just to help the Romans defeat. What I'm saying is,
their whole thing was he was told some information. He very well could have been a demigod in technicality. They just wanted him to get the job done, expand, conquer, because they had something to do. They needed that done, and that gave them the avenue to do it without having to directly involve themselves. They had to stay in the shadows, and that's their number one role.
I remember my point now. Sorry, John, can I just interrupt you? When the British Empire was at its height in 1838, that is when they released all the slaves.
Yeah,
now,
that's when they got. That's great.
Can you imagine Rome, or can you imagine America conquering Afghanistan, Vietnam, and places like that, and then and then once the empire falls, they invite everyone back in?
No,
like Britain, people make Britain out to be the most evil empire ever in the world. I mean, they miss out the Mongols totally, and they say the Britain ended slavery, and then invited when the empire fell, they invited all of the ex-empire colonists back to the country, you know, because they knew what was going to happen to them once the British rule had left. And it happened. I mean, the country's declined awfully.
Yeah, that's the only reason they would, isn't it? Why else would they? I mean, that doesn't seem. Nothing else would. I mean, there's no other real reason. They would have to do that.
Yeah, so if Britain was the Anunnaki, like people do think, I don't think it is. I think it's obviously anything that's Egypt based. Like you say, I can't see Britain. What they've not took over places and enslaved them, and then, you know, maybe they have. They did in India. I know that but how do we know our history's not been lied to us? And really, what was going on in India was some sort of.
We don't know. In fact, most evidence points to that we are being lied to.
Exactly.
All scholars pretty much go to the same source material for their declarations. Yeah. We don't know. We just
look at Michael Jackson when he came out and he just said they're all lying to you. History's a lie and everything's a lie.
Can you see me?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, it's froze a bit, but I can hear you.
I'm sorry. I thought I got cut off. But yeah, it seems like there's no other way else to think about it, especially if you're people looking for answers. You have to put in your own instinct to, you know, make some conclusions.
Yeah.
And that seems very natural, especially if we look at even us as humans when we conquer or whatever through the past. It seems like we take one leap every once in a while, like the Mongols, and that was exactly what was needed then. That works and accomplishes a certain goal, and then we have to do something else. But yeah, to be invited back, that doesn't seem like the natural way we would do it if we were involved in something like that. That was like a plan, and that was like all right, it's good job, we did it. It's at the very least questionable.
Yeah, and like you say, Europe was being attacked from the north by the Mongols, from the south from Islam, and. You know, the timing was just perfect for everything to fit together.
It's almost laughable because if it's the timing occurred like that, you have to ask why and how could it? There's something else playing there that wasn't discussed or talked about.
All you have to do is look into the Kazakh empire and look into their beliefs. They believe that they started from a snake maiden, from a viper maiden, from a half snake, half woman, who made love to Hercules, you know, and they had children. So they're telling us exactly where they came from.
Yeah, and throughout the world, I mean, pretty much every civilization, not even I think practically every one, all has, snake reptilian
Yeah.
thing. They all, say, I mean, it's part of their lore
Mm-hmm.
that is true to them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they,
And almost exactly the same as that, as they believe in Hollow Earth or some sort of, hell. If some people call it hell, some people call it, Dante's Inferno, or they all call it different like things.
like the Naga
Yeah,
and
Agartha. Um,
the different names around the world for the same thing we're all going through, because, I mean, it's capable of being puppeted and by the same group with the same goal for as long, using different means to attain. It's what we would do, but they're doing it at a large scale, and we would only do that because of their lead.
yeah. It's like Trump. If you believed everything they said about Trump, you'd think he was like Hitler reincarnated, and he was gonna march everyone into concentration camps and just kill everyone because he didn't like people. That's the way they did portray him.
Yeah, nothing he's done has even made an inkling toward really fighting against these people, and it's terrifying them because it's working.
Yeah.
I think it scares the hell out of him. That's when I see Trump. I see him being like, "Oh, I got myself into this."
Do you think he doesn't realize what he got himself into?
Yeah, he did not. I mean, I think he knew and wants to, because he's got bravado and moxie, and that's what got him this far. He thought he could do it, but now you see that sense of fear in him, but resolve at the same time. He definitely got himself into something he didn't know.
Just look how much confidence they've got. When he was at that Davos, you had what's he called? George Soros.
Soros.
You had George Soros calling Trump out, saying he was the worst thing ever. And then when Trump got the stage, he didn't say anything back to him.
Mm. And you see the whole world gaining their resources together and throwing it at him himself. Even fellow Republicans and everyone, he's got a lot on his plate there. You can see it wearing heavy on his shoulders, hang lower. His whole body language is that of someone who didn't want to know. He just found out. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like with us, like, many of us all over, we slowly learn things. We don't automatically believe it the second we hear it. We want to learn all the information we possibly can to make a proper judgment later. But it's getting judged for. We see it and believe it, and we're able to take little bits at a time, because it's even hard for us. That man probably is like, yeah, I got it, and then he's a great man, and but that's tough to handle. He got too much information too quick, just like humans got too much technology too fast. We didn't have time to adapt. He didn't have time to adapt to that. He might start listening to the wrong people, making some bad decisions, and I have a lot of faith in him. He's the greatest man, but he's in over his head. Who wouldn't be? It's a unbelievable position to actually fight against the globalists, and whoever it is, whatever depth it goes to, no matter what, there is a outstanding fact no one can debate. There is a force after him that's always been there, that's very powerful, and that tugs at strings behind things. And no rational person could really say that's not true. They just wouldn't be, paying attention if that's what they really thought.
Yeah.
So in general, we're all in this together. There's people like you who actually took the initiative to do something and put yourself out there with your insights, and you're searching. Like, it's those things are the little stepping stones that, like I said to you earlier when I first started speaking with you, watching your channels, like coming home, like, we need those little things. Who really, who knows, maybe Mr. President Trump himself was watching things like this and gave him that little extra kick, even though the great Roger Stone was the man who thought he could initially run, even starting back in '88. There's people who already are saying it too, that he knows all about the things we're speaking of and wants to destroy the globalists. He's actually at war with George Soros himself, which is really America's biggest enemy.
Yeah, definitely.
He's everyone's biggest enemy.
He's Anunnaki to the core. You can see he works with the Nazis. He works with anyone who's an enemy of Christianity or Europe or America, like you say. I might as well just say it. Like he seems like an enemy of white men.
Oh yeah. Well, you've I'm sure seen the video of him talking about when he was younger, going into the ghettos and taking all the possessions from the Jews during the height of Nazism in Europe. And he said on the video, he's like, "Oh no, I have no regrets. He's totally fine with it. He's obviously a sociopath." And he's starting to make a breakthrough a bit more where we're even speaking about him in mainstream news. The liberals love him, their God, but they protect him too. And he's got some sort of obvious outside protection too. And yeah, he's obviously the head face of the that we would see anyway.
Have you heard the latest? He's giving money to the Brexit campaign. The anti-Brexit campaign, to try and get a second referendum.
Unbelievable.
He's just give £500,000. Why is he allowed to do this? I mean, Nigel Farage called him out in the European Parliament not 2 months ago or something like that for donating to the. He's just. How does he get away with it? He's banned from like Poland and places like that. He's not even allowed in the country in them places.
God bless Poland. They're doing great. So's Hungary.
Yeah, I think it's Hungary. Yeah, I think it is Hungary as well. It's banned from a few countries, but Russia aren't messing about anymore. They're
on the verge. I think Putin's on the side too. There's been some reports I've read, of course, but it's like there's a tide turning. That's a noticeable one. That seems why they're stepping up their game. There's a lot going on. Even I'm sure you've heard of the FISA memo that's being ignored by the left-wing media here in America. It virtually exclusively proves so many things that Obama and Hillary or with Eric Holder running a cabal of absolute. I mean, Watergate with Nixon is nothing compared to this.
I can believe it. How do you get the news out when you're having a blackout on the news, when they control all the media? How has that been allowed to happen? It must have been right-wing conservatives seeing this happen.
Right at the tip of everyone's tongue.
Mm-hmm.
If that question could be asked to the masses, maybe they'd get, the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's some people that are just lost and gone. They've capitulated. They've given in. They don't even.
Do you know, in Britain, Fox News has been banned from Sky, and apparently Murdoch owns Fox, doesn't he?
Murdoch does own Fox. I think that's.
And he owns Sky, so how can he ban his own news network off his own Sky box?
That question provides the answer already. Obviously, he's nothing. How could he? How could he be?
It's obviously he's controlled then, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like everything is right there to be seen that it's not what it seems. I mean, and it drives me crazy. It obviously drives you crazy. Why less? It seems like less is happening.
Can I tell you this though? What makes me happy is also knowing that whenever the Anunnaki seem to get too strong, one man comes from somewhere. One man every time, and always defeats them. It can be either Alexander the Great. It can be Jesus Christ. There's so many people out there that one man, Nikola Tesla, he saved Britain and America in World War II. He invented the radio. Without radio, without what do you call it?
Yeah, he was really fought against during his lifetime. I mean, the establishment with Edison it ate away at him. He was always, because he was a threat. I mean, he's one of my heroes. He was such a huge threat. It's like the powers that be couldn't believe such a pure magical genius like him. He'd be a threat to anybody.
And let's say they sent down one man, it seemed, in the biblical epicle of Yahweh. They sent down one man, and it only talks about the one person who helped him escape and everything. It don't talk about an army. Or it seems to be always one man that gets sent and defeats the Anunnaki when they start getting too big for the boots. And do you reckon that could be Trump this time?
that's what I've been thinking and hoping and praying for. I think it's pretty obvious it is, especially depending on what kind of research you've done and people you listen to. But all the right people are, saying pretty much that, and some people exactly that right out loud.
Yeah, like InfoWars, they talk of this being a biblical thing, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, it's got to be.
Mm.
The whole, everything seems like it's coming to a point right now. It seems like the will of mankind always, gets projected onto one man who's got the power to act and the will to act, and somebody's acting at least, and then it comes down to the foot soldiers like
Antifa.
Antifa. I think they're about as sharp as a wet bag of mice.
Yeah. But I think the Nazis are controlled as well, even back, because I believe George Soros funded the Nazis as well. Not just them Nazis, the modern day Nazis, some modern day Nazis in Ukraine when they was doing all that, so it just doesn't make sense.
No, if you're to look at George Soros, just him or what he is, he's a villain of mankind. God, he looks like the Emperor from Star Wars. He just
if you looked at his Davos speech, he's talking like he's Emperor of the world. He's stood there saying, "Oh, and in this part of the world we have to sort that out." And in America, I don't really like Trump. He's a troublesome guy, and all. And, he's talking like he's king of the world.
Yeah, and people allow him to act like that. That's why he continues to go. He's got so much backing. Just the other day they uncovered that he was behind the whole paying of another Democratic candidate in America here. And, he's pulling the strings, obviously. No one would think different. He doesn't even hide it, the fact. Mine might just be more of a, being a releaser of information it doesn't have as much at stake as what you're actually doing and putting in full effort. Because, you, like I said, I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
It helps me see, just you or channel, you doing something like that, what you do, and being very good at it and passionate, it comes through. Humans know that. But it did even with me. So you got even just one person, a lot of people watch you, but it's that one thing, that one act that creates a chain reaction, keeps something going. It keeps, it creates a society and a community of people that will have some knowledge that can be helpful, of course, but it's, if it becomes more and more normal and mainstream, people will look at it, see the passion, they'll get into it even if they think we're crazy, whatever. There'll come that moment where they themselves know, just as humans, stuff they're saying is how we're very, I keep using the word logical, but it's because it is. If you just get past, if someone just gets past their own, prejudices and takes a look, it's right there for anyone to see that there's something to see, and we're not just doing this for a goof or fun. Because we have a stake in getting deeper, but there is people, and who actually do something. That's you. Maybe I'm going to start to now. Actually, it's crazy that I even have this information. I am a little bit weary of it, especially how my family's gonna. I haven't told anyone, and it's gonna have a sideways ill effect too. But it also could really do some awakening, and that's pretty much the whole goal I'm reaching to. I already have new things that could lead someone else to go somewhere else. It all, if we can stir up this brew, and people can see it and do some searching for themselves, and then they can do that and turn to someone else. Every little bit does count in humanity.
Yeah. You'll have to definitely come back when you finish your book and let us know and tell us what it's called and everything like that, and I'll put a plug out for you.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew.
But we're going to have to wrap up in a minute. Sorry about that.
No problem.
There we are.
You're one ugly motherfucker.